The problem with using a Bigsby B7 or a B5 on a Gretsch Electromatic ProJet, as well as Les Pauls or other Les Paul style guitars, is a tuning instability that happens. But first off, let's dispel the nut issue. This has got a graphite nut, and so you have to make sure your nut, that seems to be the number one culprit of tuning instability. But I'm not talking about the pinging that you hear when you use your tremolo bar. I've also even installed the Wilkinson roller bridge on this one. So I had this quandary of everything was set precisely right, but yet if I used the tremolo and pushed down on it when I released, the entire guitar would be flat, just the littlest bit. And when I pulled back and released, it would be sharp. So it has come to my attention over probably many years of studying this problem that the issue comes with the tension roller. You're required to have a tension roller on a guitar like this, mainly because if you use a Bigsby B3, which if you ever watched any of my other videos, it's the first thing I did to this guitar, there was not enough string tension on the bridge to keep the strings in the saddles. It looked really cool, but I would push the strings out on a good bend. So the biggest issue on this particular style guitar is how close the roller is to the bridge. And you see how this creates this amazingly steep string angle going under this roller. And from the factory, it already has this angle coming under the roller. This creates a huge amount of upward tension on the roller, creating a lot of friction on the roller, which causes it to not quite roll so smoothly. Now this particular tremolo works wonderfully on other guitars, so Bigsby didn't necessarily make a flaw. The flaw is that there's really no optimal tremolo system for a guitar with a short amount of real estate between the back of the guitar and the bridge. Let me show you my my Gibson ES-135, and I'll show you what that looks like. So on a Gibson ES-135, the body is considerably larger. There's much more real estate between the back of the guitar and where the bridge is, and you can see right off the bat that the angle that the strings go underneath the tension roller is considerably less. And this creates much less tension on that roller. There's no binding. So let me show you the solution. So the problem being that this tension roller is just flat out too far down, creating too much angle. And I've tried actually running the strings over the top, which of course didn't create the tension required. So the problem is this roller really has to be raised. A couple different ways to do that. One way which I tried, which seemed to work pretty good, was just take the screws out and put some shims underneath there and raise the thing. I've seen other people do that. And what caused that was noticing that people with the Vibramate on their Les Pauls seem to have less of an issue, because the Vibramate is a plate that actually goes under here and raises the entire thing up. But what I want to show you is a device that I've invented. It's got a patent pending on it, and it does three things, and let me show you what that is. So this is my Bigsby B7 or B5 tuning stabilizer device, and really all that it does is it's going to attach. If I take this roller off, there's going to be an axle inside, and what I'll do is I'll take the roller off, I'll put the stabilizer device in, and put the axle back in without the roller. And this does three things for this guitar. First off, the original problem was the height issue. So this raises the roller to a really wonderful location. I'm going to say that because it's my device. The second thing is when I take this apart, you'll hear how rough there's brass bushings that cause this roller to not roll so smoothly. So my device has ball bearing rollers, sealed bearings in it, so it's very smooth and quiet. And then the third thing, if there's any other hang up, this whole device tends to pivot front to back. So you have no friction on the strings, or virtually none, and in a raised position it decreases the string angle. So I'll show you how easy it is to put this on, and then we'll take a look at it. So putting the tuning stabilizer on the guitar is a pretty simple task that can be done just sitting on a couch with very few tools. You'll need a Phillips screwdriver, a 5/64 Allen wrench,
And really the only thing else are the dikes for when you replace the strings. I'm going to go ahead and put new strings on this one since I'm taking them off. I have Spursel locking tuners on this. This is probably one of the items that has the least amount of impact on tuning stabilization, but it sure does make for fast string change. So we'll speed this up for you, then we'll get right with it. Okay, so now we've got the strings off. Take the spring out and set it off to the side for just a second. And you have 2 screws to remove on a B7. There'll be 4 screws on a B5. We'll do the B7 because that's what I got. It'll be real easy to do. If you take the 2 screws out, set them aside, and remember I had mentioned one of the other tricks is to put a couple spacers just up underneath. It looks a little funky. Not that this tuning stabilizer won't look a little bit unusual because you haven't really seen it before. Anyways, if you can remember what I said about that roller, how hopefully you can hear that. It's kind of rough sounding. It's because there's no bearings in that. That's just the way it's built. Just wanted you to hear that. When you flip your Bigsby back, you'll find right here is a place for the Allen wrench, and that just tightens down the on that axle. So when you loosen that set screw, you'll be able to push this axle out. And see how it just popped out there? Hopefully it got in the shot. I'm using just the end of my Allen wrench to push it out. And then if you look real carefully, you'll see inside the roller is a brass bushing, and you know, and it does pretty good if you don't have too much pressure on the roller. But anyways, putting the stabilizer on is as simple as, by the way, listen, didn't hear anything, did you? So you just drop the stabilizer in, push the axle through, and now it's ready for tightening the set screw. And you see that's the pivoting action I was telling you about, as well as the rolling action. And if I haven't lost my Allen wrench because of me not paying attention here, oh, there it is. So you could be doing this while you're watching TV. It really doesn't take a whole lot of concentration. So tighten up the set screw to keep the axle from falling out. Put your 2 screws back in. Here's 1. 2. And you are ready to string up your guitar. I probably ought to show you at least the difference between putting your strings on now versus what it was before. Before, your strings went underneath the roller when the roller was on this axle. Now, if you can see that, there's a gap between the new roller and the axle, and that's where your strings are going to have to go. So, put the camera back together. There we go. So, and then most of you Bigsby guys know that, you know, your string is going to have to look kind of like that. You have to bend the end. You just thread first one in between that space. Actually, I like to leave that spring out. It just makes it a little bit easier. And then after I get all 6 strings on, you know, I don't tighten it up, and then I'm able to just pull that up and get the spring in. It just makes it a little easier to get at the posts. At any rate, so there you have it. That's how it's going to look. Let me go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll let you see it completely strung up. So here it is with the strings on, and I just wanted to show you putting the spring in after the fact. I mean, Bigsby's are so finicky, they're going to have to do some stretching of the strings anyways. But here, spring's in there. I'll get it tuned up for you. But before I do that, let's give a good look at let's get a good look at that. All right, so look at the significant decrease in the angle of the strings now going over the bridge. The look is going to take a little bit to get used to because you've never seen a Bigsby that looks quite like that. The roller is the same diameter, it's just lifted up. And so now, and even the angle from the string attachment point underneath that roller is now lessened as well, but you can see there's still plenty of angle to keep your strings from jumping out of the saddle. So I'll get this baby tuned up, and then I will play a little something, and I'll try to give the tremolo just a bit of abuse so that you can see how well this thing works.